Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a special preview look at Perilous Pond. And this is published by Frozen Maze Games. This is a 2 to 4 player games where you play as baby frogs. You're trying to become the dominant frog species in the game. And you're going to do this by trying to collect the most fireflies by the end of the game. But you have to watch out. There's a pike in the water, and you don't like them. So got to stay away from that and try to outwit your fellow players and collect the most flies. Let's go ahead down to the table here. I'm going to give you a general idea how the game plays, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so this is Perilous Ponds. And Perilous Ponds, you're going to play over 10 rounds, and you're going to place this out in a 4x5 grid. So you're going to be shuffling up these lily pads and then placing it out in this grid. You're going to put the turn counter over here, and you're going to put one of the red fireflies on the one space, and you'll be counting this down until the 10th round. At the end of the 10th round, the person with the most fireflies will win the game. So how do you start out with this? After this point, you're going to give each player a frog. And then, so that's that red frog right here, and then one of these cards in the player color. You're also going to shuffle up this bonus deck here, or basically objective card deck, sorry. And you're going to give each player 3 objectives. And they're going to look to meet these objectives. And if they meet the objective here, they're going to get the fireflies down on the bottom. We're going to go over what these mean in a little bit, but know that you're going to try to meet these objectives before the marker gets to this lily pad here. Then you're going to be able to refresh your hand of 3 cards. And like I said, we'll go over that in a minute. So you're going to get your 3 objective cards. Then you're also going to place out your frogs. So you're going to pick whoever's going to be the first player, and they're going to put their frog out in the outside row. And then all the other players will do so. So one of the frogs in the outside row here. All right, then you're going to start placing out the fireflies themselves on the board. All right, and toward that, we're going to take a look at the lily pad next to the pond turn card, and then we're going to place that color there. So this will be blue. Then we're going to do every other, but if there's a frog, you'll skip it and move to the next one. So a red one will go here, then every other, so we'll have a yellow. Then we'll have another yellow. Then we have a frog here, so we'll put red here. Then we will have a white firefly here, then a blue firefly, then a white firefly, then a blue firefly. And now the board's set up. Now each of the fireflies in this game are going to be worth differing amounts of points. And that's going to be very important for scoring at the end of the game. So what points are each of these worth? Well, each one of these reds here are going to be worth 4 points. Each one of these, sorry, where'd that one go? That was right here. All right. Each one of these yellows is going to be worth 3 points, and each one of the blues are going to be worth 2 points, and each one of the whites are going to be worth 1 point. And the frequency of these is going to be higher for the lower points and lower for the red points. Notice there's only 3 red lily pads in the game. At the end of the game, you're going to score these up. You also get bonus fireflies at the end of the game for having the most of any one of the white, blue, or yellow categories. You will get a bonus firefly. If you have the most of these white fireflies, you'll get a bonus yellow. If you have the most blue, you'll get a bonus blue. If you have the most yellow, you'll get them a bonus 1. If you fulfilled the most objective cards, you'll get a bonus yellow. Other than that, you're going to score up your points, and the person with the most points will win. All right, so let's get into how you play the game. And the first player is going to start off by rolling these dice. And what they're going to be doing to roll these dice first, so this first die roll is not going to count. So they're going to roll these dice. We'll roll them right here so you can see. And we're looking for pikes. And what we're trying to do is see which is the closest colored pike to where the turn card is. Or closest. And this one here is going to be the white one. So it's going to go on the white lily pad. That's where the pike's going to start the game. Okay, so you're only going to really do that the first time. So after that pike set, that doesn't happen anymore. What you're going to do now is you're going to roll these dice. But before you roll these dice, if you're out in the water, so for one reason or another, if your frog ended up to be out in the water, you can climb back up. Well, you have to do that. So to climb back up, you're going to go into the next available lily pad that is open for you and get out of the water. There's a bunch of different little placement rules, but in general, you're looking for a lily pad that doesn't have another frog on it, or the pike. So you can't do either of those. So as long as one's available, like you're on the outside edge, you can jump in, you're good, and that's climb back up. The next thing you get to do is you get to roll these dice. And when you roll these dice, you can roll these dice up to 3 times. What's going to happen here, so here's my first attempt die, any pike that I get will have to be placed on my little player card here. And it has to be placed on it on the round that I rolled that pike. So this was the first roll. So then I place it here, and I can't re-roll that die, but I can re-roll any number of dice I want. So let's say I just wanted to roll these 2. That's my second roll. Didn't get any more pike, but now I can decide, oh, that's actually a pike right there too. I can decide if I want to roll any or all of these for my third roll. Once you're done rolling, you get to take your actions. So there's several different actions that you can take throughout the round. Once you take all those actions, you're going to move the pike, which we'll go over in a minute, from those dice that were banked there. And then you have a chance to fulfill any of those objective cards that you got from the beginning of the game. So, okay, so what are the different things you can do? Well, there's several different die faces that you can use throughout the game. So if we're looking at this dice right here, this is going to be placing Firefly. There's going to be manipulate lily pad. There's going to be catch and push. Catch or push, sorry, not catch and push. There's going to be walk, and then there's going to be a jump right here. Those are the different actions you can take based on what you rolled. So movement, actions, walking, or jumping. So if you walk, you can just use a die to walk. It doesn't matter what the color die is, but you can just walk. So if I'm the red player, I can use this die to walk 1 space. Now if I want to jump, I'm going to have to use all the die that I have to jump, and the number of dice that I have will determine how far that I can jump. And I can jump over other frogs if I want or whatnot, but whenever I move or jump, I can't end in a spot with another frog or the pike. Now, a couple interesting things that will happen is on your first movement, no matter what, you're going to lower the lily pad. So this would go down. Oh, if I walked to here, this lily pad would go down. And any time that I would ever jump, it would always lower the lily pad. So this one here is going to be a submerged lily pad. If you cause the lily pad to lower past submerged, it would be moved off the board. You just set it to the side. These can be put back on from a manipulate the lily pad action. But that's in a really quick nutshell. There's a little bit more to it, but in a really quick nutshell, that's how the lily pads get lowered in the game. And that's basically walking. Now you can walk and do an action. And like I said, with the jumping, you are going to have to use all your dice. If you use 1 die, you can jump over 1 spot. If you have up to 2 dice, you can jump up to 2 spots. Now you have to do the whole thing. So if I have 2 dice and I can jump over 2 lily pads, I have to do something. So I could jump here, or I could jump off into the water. So it's a good thing to remember that you're going to have to use all of the dice in some situations, and you have to complete your movement with it. You can't do less than what you intended to, less than what you used, basically. The other really simple one is you can use catch Firefly. So let's say I'm in this spot right here. I can use this catch Firefly action die and just take this Firefly and put it over in my player area. The other thing that I can do is I can push a frog. So for each push, or each one of these that I use, I can push the frog that much. I can be that much farther away when I push the frog. So if I use 1, I can push this frog here. I can even push the frog off into the, let's say this was gone, I can push the frog off into the water. I can push the frog into a pike. And if you push the frog into the pike, or you end up with a pike on you or passing you, that player will lose a Firefly because they have become scared. The more of these that I use, the farther that I can be away to push. So I'm over here, and let's say I had three of them. So if I had three of them. So just to clarify, you have to have two of these pushes to be able to push one frog forward. If I had three of them, I can be one space away and I can push at one. So I'm sorry, you do have to have two of these dice minimally to do a push. So you can push them into a pike or push them out of the way to do different things. And that's basically the push action. The other one is going to be the lily pad, to manipulate lily pads. So to manipulate lily pads, you're going to, that's one of the times that the color of the lily pad die will matter, because this is the color that you're going to be able to raise or lower. So I can raise or lower this white one with that white die. If this happened to be, let's say I had a yellow, oops, here's the yellow die. So if I had a yellow one, I can actually bring this one back in the game as submerged. And if it was submerged, I can use the die to plop it back up. You can also move lily pads around if you want, into an empty spot or out of an empty spot. So that's the other action that you can take. You can't move it outside of the normal grid pattern, but you can move it around the board if there is an empty spot. One of the other things you can do is also you can place fireflies. So this one is another one where the color will matter for the firefly placement. Here you're going to be able to place yellow fireflies, and you get to put them on the yellow spot. You can use that up so that you can make sure that you have place some fireflies out that you can get that round. And that, in a quick nutshell, is basically what you're going to be able to do with those dice. To finish up your turn, you're going to have to move the pike. And after the player has resolved all their actions, the pike will swim from lily pad to lily pad, determined by the results during the player's turn. The pike moves from left to right, so it's going to move from here to here. And it's going to move to the color of the corresponding die. Now that player is going to be able to pick what order it is, but they're going to have to do it in grouping, so 1, 2, and 3. So if I had a pike over here, let's see, a pike over here, where'd the pike go? I would have to do that one later. So I have this one to pick from first. I have a blue and a white. So I could, if I decided to do white, I would move it all the way along here. So go all the way along here. And if there ends up to be a frog in that lily pad that it ended up in, they become scared and lose a firefly. Then I could pick blue, and that would move it over here. And then I would have to finish this round 3 one, and that would move it to the next white. So I can pretty much plan this out to see how this is going to work out to maybe scare as many of my opponent's frogs as I can. All right, and then at the end of the round, I can choose to fulfill objective cards. Now, in the back of the book, they go over every single one of these, but some of them are pretty simple. Like here, if I rolled 5 pike during my turn, I'm going to get a blue and yellow firefly, and I can complete that. This one here, I have 1 to 4 lily pads of any color were resolved during that player's turn. The more that I do, the bigger reward I get. So if I do all 4, I get a red firefly. And the same with this one, placing out fireflies. The more fireflies I place out during the round, the better my reward will be. Now, the cool thing about the reward cards is, these objective cards is, when you hit this round number here on the round track, you will be able to refill up to 3 objectives. You can discard any of your objectives at that time too to replenish them there, but you will basically want to complete as many objectives as you possibly can before that 5th round, so you can get 3 new objectives to give you more points throughout the game. And really, in a nutshell, that's going to be how you're going to play Perilous Pawns. Players are going to continue going on until we get to the 10th round, and then we're going to score the game. And again, in scoring the game really matters on what color fireflies you have. So at the end of the game, the person with the most white fireflies is going to get a yellow firefly as a bonus. The person with the most blue fireflies is going to get a blue firefly as a bonus. The person with the most yellow fireflies at the end of the game is going to get a white firefly as a bonus. And the person who fulfilled the most objective cards is going to get a yellow firefly as a bonus. If any of these tie, no one gets the bonuses. After that, you're going to add up all the points of your fireflies, and the player with the most points will win. Each red firefly is worth 4 points, yellow are 3, blue is 2, and white is 1. All right, so yeah, like in a nutshell, that's how this game plays. Those are different things you can do. Let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Perilous Pond. Okay, so I like Perilous Ponds. It was a really fun game to play. It's really takes about, I'd say probably about 30 to 40 minutes to play. I think it says 20 to 60. That's probably about right. You can have some variable play links in this game. But I really like the amount of decisions that you can do through manipulating those lily pads, or where to move your frog, or just basically like how to push your luck with those dice by basing it on what you're trying to do. So you have to balance out all those things and still be able to collect more fireflies than your opponent. So there's a lot of decisions in this game, and I think this game is best with probably the higher player count, 4-player count. Now, to remind you again, this is a preview copy, so this is the preview edition of the game. So things may change before the official release, which includes maybe art, potentially components, or some of the rules might be changed up to meet with some of the things they find from people playing it. Now, one thing I'll say, the rule book here is pretty long, but it's very, very detailed. I almost wish they would have like a summary section and then like separate it out, like have just a quicker learn to play, and then separate the nuancy rules out. Now that's not saying the rulebook isn't good, and also preview edition, so that might change in the future. But other than that, this is an amazing game. I have, like I said, a lot of fun with it. And I love all the different strategies that you can employ in this game, and all the different ways that you need to pivot based on what your opponents do. So there's a lot of really cool things to think about while playing this game. Adds a ton of replayability because of how your opponents are going to change the way they play throughout the different games, and the board's randomized every time. So really important, like, are you going to go after those high point fireflies, or are you going to need to get a whole bunch of the lower point fireflies to give yourself a little bit of a buffer, so if something happens, you don't have to lose those higher point fireflies? Or if you see your opponent going after those higher point fireflies, do you want to start, and that's all they really have, do you want to start making them lose fireflies because they lose the higher point stuff? When are you going to place out fireflies? When are you going to try to position your opponent to get into or get hit by that pike, or drop the lily pad out from underneath them? A lot of really, really cool decisions, and I really like this game. So that's my thoughts on Perilous Ponds. I would definitely say this one is worth checking out when it comes out. Thank you for watching.